I'll hit record. All right. So today's conversation is all going to be about a very specific way to develop the inner belief to overcome tough challenges through inner resourcefulness. This is going to be a very powerful tool for conquering self-doubt. I've used this tool for 20 years now, since 2003 in coaching. And it's all about how to specifically develop the mental strength to bet on yourself more, trust yourself, trust your skills, and go all in on what you're doing in life without being afraid. So it's all about, let's not settle for mediocrity. Let's develop a plan to harness focus and stay diligent. All right. So it's called Lifetime Gold Medals. And I'll just show you this. And this is the 2023 version of it. All right. So we're going to be we're going to be working our way through this little coaching tool here. Now, as we get started, let's talk about why it's a good idea to do this. Like, why is it a good idea to be very intentional with believing in ourselves and cultivating that skill? Coots, I'm going to go to you first because you've been coaching this tool for like 6 or 7 years now. I think I taught it to you in 2016.
Right.
All right. Why do you think this is a good idea?
Well, literally, when our business as a personal trainer, that's how it started, is people need to accomplish a goal. And it's a whole heck of a lot easier to accomplish goals when you have self-belief, when you believe you can accomplish something. And that doesn't just pertain to fitness, that then pertains to everything in life, right? And the more you believe in yourself, the more you feel you can accomplish just about everything. And so by finding a simple tool like this where you can just butter people up and make them understand they've done things before, they can do it again, they have the strength to overcome. It's such a powerful thing to see people actually go through with it and then change the people around them even, right? So that's why I find it to be such a powerful tool, because a lot of people out there feel stuck, like they can't do what they feel they should be able to do.
Awesome. How many times do you think you use this tool?
Oh, I mean, I'm just trying to think how many times I've said the word lifetime gold medal, right? So I gotta say in the thousands, so maybe at least hundreds.
Yeah. So
Sure.
it's a tool that has value for very many people,
Yeah,
right? As we'll
yeah.
get into it. It's life-changing. Um, Colby, any thoughts on why it's a good idea to develop the skill of destroying self-doubt? Why is that a good idea?
In my personal opinion, I think like belief is everything. Like you can almost like create anything from belief. And like when you believe in yourself, it's like almost like what you can reach is like um infinite amount of different goals and knowledge. And so I think it's really important to believe in yourself and like kind of create belief and when you come from a place of belief in yourself, you become inspired, and inspired people inspire people, which I think is really important.
Love it. Love it. That was such an amazing answer. So, both of you. So basically, this is a foundation for success. You know, when we believe in ourselves, the battle is half won, because without courage, all other character virtues are futile. So developing this confidence in ourselves gives resilience in the face of hardship. And we need this. We need to conquer self-doubt in order to set our sights higher, to try harder, to persevere longer, because our truest competitors are on the inside. I believe, one of the most ancient books is the Bhagavad Gita, which is basically suggesting that the human experience is more like a battle on the inside between your virtues and your vices. And I believe that the first opponent we have to fight and conquer is self-doubt, because otherwise self-doubt will defeat you no matter what other things you're pursuing in life. So self-doubt makes us accept our limits without testing our limits and fall short of who we are and what we end up doing, right? So, and another thing is recency bias. We tend to only remember the most recent stuff. So if we haven't succeeded in a while, we forget how successful we can be. And I think so to basically succeed in your life journey, whatever it is, you need to be able to create unshakable faith in your potential for success. And it's a do-it-yourself project. Nobody is going to come in and do this for you. Nobody can. So we need to all be able to conquer self-doubt. Now, before we begin, we've got a fourth person here. Can you see that little dove? Anyway, there's a little dove. There's a little dove right beside me, right there.
It's going to be sitting on his head by the end of the call.
That's so cute.
I know.
Brendan, would you be able to resend that PDF?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will throw that back into the chat. All right.
Thank
So
you.
we're going to go through a couple different steps here. We'll walk through it. And let me go here. So yeah, I've got a little dove chilling right, right beside me. But you know what? I got a little bit of sunflower seeds here. And I feed the doves out here on our balcony. And okay. So the first thing we're going to do is this. Step one is I want you to write down a past success in about a paragraph or two. Okay. Describe a time in your life when you went from struggle to success and you defied the odds or suffered through something and overcame it. It could be anything from any time in your life, perhaps a challenge in school, sports, business, health, relationships, or something else. Okay. Now I'm going to give you some prompters in case you're struggling for an answer. You know, did you ever achieve an award, a title, a milestone, or a status that seemed unlikely? Have you gone from a breakdown to a breakthrough in relationships, health, or business? You know, were you ever told you couldn't do something, but you did it anyways? Were you ever considered an underdog or a long shot, but you still pulled it off? You know, did you struggle with something mentally or physically, but you overcame it? Maybe you were really bad at fitness and then you became good at it. Maybe you were really bad at music and you became good at it, right? So when have you poured your entire heart and soul into something to push yourself to the limits? Or, you know, when were you caught off guard and still found a way to succeed, or you made a smooth transition somehow? Or when did you have to endure intense physical, mental, or emotional pain and survive a really difficult episode where, you know, a lesser person would have just fallen to pieces? So we want to have a story and we want to describe it in a paragraph or two. Okay. So does everyone have their story? All right, Coates, do you care to share yours? We'll go around and we'll all just share what it is, and I'll just come up with one off the top of my head. Coates?
Sure. Yeah, first one that came to mind was the most recent, and that was I think it was 2 summers ago, when I went out to stretch in the park, brought my Olympic rings with me, and I did one skin the cat, and then on the second skin the cat, I tore both biceps at the same time. And they kind of snapped like Velcro. So that was like okay, I've been screwed up. I can't do things. And I instantly went to surgery. So that was a whole, both arms in slings like this, still running my business virtually, trying to put pants on, get enough food, still work out, all the things I just basically tried to ignore completely, but go about life. And I was able to completely recover back to my full strength, which is awesome. No pain. And so to me, that was a huge gold medal.
Perfect. So you had an intense injury, you tore both biceps, and you recovered to full strength as though nothing even happened. In some ways, were you able to even get even stronger in some ways after the fact?
Yeah, interestingly enough, I was able to attack sort of my supination golfer's elbow stuff more, because I was paying so much more attention to elbow specific stuff. And as well as the surgery itself, I was told that because it goes through the bone now, it's actually a better and stronger insertion than the original. So yeah, I told some people I just had bicep enhancement surgery.
So you got stronger than ever as a result from the
There
injury.
you go.
And that's usually the way it is. The body super compensates. Love it. So that's a perfect example. Okay, Colby.
For me, it would probably be about 2 years ago. I found myself in a really sticky situation. I was like going through like a huge breakup. I had lost like my apartment, my car was totaled and like beyond repair, and I lost my job, and it was all happening at the same time. So like my relationship, my house, my car, my job, like everything just completely got messed up. But for some reason, like just tweaking my mindset a little bit, I was able to like maintain positivity in that time of my life, and it made me happy and excited during that time. And my family was like, you're crazy. Like, are you okay? Like, has it gotten to you? Like, why are you so happy right now? But it's just kind of in that situation, I realized that like I could look at the situation like two ways. Either I could be really upset about everything that was happening and, stress on all the stuff that there is there to potentially stress about, or I could be positive and think of it as like it was all happening for me. Like 'cause sometimes you have to start from a new foundation in order to
Mhm.
rebuild better. So I chose to like think of it as it was happening for me, not to me. And now 2 years later, like um I'm happily, like really happily single. Like it was a bad relationship anyway. I'm driving my car again and I'm really happy with in my career and I have a roof over my head, so I'm really happy about that.
Awesome, awesome. That's a great example and a very intense one. You had many, many pillars in your life come crumbling down, so things could
Exactly.
be rebuilt better than ever. So I love that one. Um, the one I'm going to share, I mean, I got a lot of them that I could share. The first one that comes to mind is I'm gonna say the volleyball tournament. We had a team in the volleyball tournament. You remember this one, right, Coots? It was the world's biggest volleyball tournament down at the
Fantastic story.
beaches. Down at the beaches in Toronto and MedCan, we had a number of teams, and I had the team with all the non-volleyball players on it. And so we were in the world's biggest volleyball tournament. I think there was like 300 teams, and our goal was to like not finish in the bottom 50. And we had one guy show up who'd never played volleyball in his life. Okay, and he showed up in like dress clothes, like golf shirt, dress shirt, and stuff. And I had to teach him how to hit a volleyball before we started. And I don't think anyone else on our team had even played volleyball in 5 years. I think I asked, has anyone played volleyball in 5 years? And nobody's hand went up. And I was like, okay, great. So we had this team of like non-volleyball people. Anyway, long story short, we made it to the final 8 in the tournament. They had a helicopter filming our final game, right? So, and then afterwards, we got to go to this like truck, and they gave us these boxes of prizes because they said it was a big deal to make it to the final 8 in this tournament. And the way we made it was just fluke. Like we had a terrible team, but I made a couple rules. One is we did a big circle huddle before every game, and we went around and did circle of compliments because I said it's so intimidating to see that we're a really tight unit, even though we weren't. We never practiced together or anything. We're just thrown together for that day. And so we did circle of compliments. We also had another rule: don't pass to the sucky players. Okay, but rule number 2 was we all suck, so don't pass to anybody. Okay, so we didn't. We just slapped it over. No volley set, nothing. Because I said, we're not going to win. We're not going to beat anybody, but we can let them fail because of their own egos. Usually in volleyball tournaments, when I was watching everybody, everyone's always trying to like impress everybody with smacking it really hard and hitting it out of bounds, which is what everyone was doing. Everyone's hitting it out of bounds because they're trying to show off. I'm like, let them try to show off and defeat themselves. And so we just by fluke, we were making comebacks. We just ended up like winning every game all day long against teams that were way better than us. And but we were just positive the whole time. And yeah, so we made it to the final 8. And I still want to look at the Guinness Book of World Records because they told us Guinness Book of World Records is taking photos, and they got a helicopter filming your game. And I was like, what? Like we wanted to not be in the bottom 50. We didn't think we'd ever make it to top 8, right? So that's the story that comes to mind for me. So step 1 is describe your past success, which we've all done. Okay. Now, step 2, I want you to write this out as well. I want you to describe all the things that made it hard. What made this challenging or difficult? Okay. Be very specific. Write out as many things as you can. Did you have limitations to overcome? Were you unprepared, unqualified, or maybe you were trying to do things the wrong way, right? So for myself, I was unprepared with our volleyball team. We'd never practiced together. We were unqualified. None of us were volleyball players. We were the team of random throw togethers. Right. Another thing, were there battles you had to fight within yourself? Was there a lack of hope? A sense of helplessness? Were you in a negative state? Did you feel unworthy? Did you feel unloved? Were you being unkind to yourself? Were you too proud to ask for help? What made it discouraging or intimidating? I know with my team, there was a sense of hopelessness with one of my team members was about to quit. And I had to take them aside and give them a pep talk, and we're glad I did, because they were just getting so down on themselves, right? As the tournament got started, so was there lots of pressure or a lot at stake? Were things heading in a bad direction? For example, Colby, for someone like yourself, like usually when things fall apart, that's when sometimes people turn to things like substance abuse. Some people, maybe not you, but other people in that situation might have just started drinking or doing drugs and just numbing the pain rather than deciding to learn and benefit from it. Right. And then another thing we could ask is, were there forces working against you? Maybe there was blame and shame and other people trying to get you to fail. And what else made it mentally or physically challenging? So we want to unpack as many things as we can, really unpack as many things as you can on why this was hard and unlikely. And for me, I would say this: we have a lot of competition, right? There was like 308 teams or something, if I recall. I don't know the exact numbers. It's not really that important, but it was the biggest volleyball tournament in human history, right? Tons of competition, actual teams that have practiced together, and teams that are more experienced. And as I told my team, the other people get volleyballs for Christmas. That we're just a bunch of, if we do anything right today, it's a plus, so everyone wanted us to lose, right? And we were the least likely of the teams entered, the MedCan teams. The other teams, Coots, I don't know if you remember, they had ringers, people that didn't even work for our company that were brought in because they were good at volleyball.
Wow. And you guys made it and they didn't, I'm guessing?
Yeah. They I think the other team went 1 win and 5 losses, and their team was stacked. Right. And our team was just like a joke. And we were undefeated all day long until we lost in the final 8, and we got destroyed in that game. That other team could set spike at will against us. Like, we were just standing dummies in that game in the final 8, right? But we're like, we just got we were just happy to be there, Okay, so Coots, with your injury, tell me all the reasons why it was hard.
Okay. It definitely made it. I'm just looking at the list here, trying to make it more specific. Limitations to overcome. All of a sudden, I couldn't use both my arms properly. Everyone asked me the same question: how do you wipe your ass? And I just told them I'm very flexible. It helps.
Yeah, you just told them I never did to begin with. So what does it matter?
Exactly. We're not changing things now. Right?
Yeah, you got a bidet.
It's simple, right? But yeah, so that was one of them. What were some of the battles I had to fight within myself? Oh, you know me. I love to be active and do everything. And so to be cut in half, basically, with like, you got to use your legs only, and you can only do certain things, and you've got to recover from surgery. You got to play with bands and not dumbbells. So there was a lot of mental,
a lot of humbling. Yeah,
humbling to come over for sure. And but I was at that point very grateful. Hey, I can come down and work out. Right, as soon as I was allowed to move again, I was just happy to be on a treadmill or do anything. So it definitely got me restarted. Was there a lot of pressure or a lot at stake? My job was at stake. I'm a physical trainer, right? A personal trainer. So I had to really think and thank all my clients for being as awesome as they are, to allow me to cue them more than demonstrate them, because I couldn't do much demonstrating.
That's a big deal for your job to have that kind of an injury. And then people are might, I don't know if they did or not, might judge you that it was self-inflicted.
Exactly, right? It's like, I'll stop lifting those heavy weights, right? And I was like, it was a stupid mistake. I'll give him that. But it wasn't necessarily the full story, right? But
it was an educational experience.
100%.
You're just learning you know what? At least you made an air of commission. You're testing the limits of your body vehicle,
true,
rather than asserting than limiting yourself.
I'm trying to think if there were forces working against me. That's a tough one. For that, it
could be like bad information when it comes to therapy and healing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
People might tell you to stretch it when that would just make it worse, right? When you're trying to heal something that's been torn, or whatever it might be, right?
I think I was more afraid of myself. I was going to be the biggest thing against me. So making sure I didn't overdo things. I followed the rehab program the way it should be. I added things smart. I wrote things down. I wasn't going to guess with my rehab. And I think that I was the biggest thing I was fighting against, kind of felt like.
Yeah. Because that's a lot of that hits your rate in your pride and joy, right? The body, vehicle, and your career,
100%. Yeah, exactly.
right?
So
So that's a very
shift. A lot of, and it was right at COVID, so I'd already pivoted my business, and now I had to pivot my physical self, and so it was, I don't know, a learning experience.
at a vulnerable time. There you go, too. This happened at a vulnerable time. Okay, awesome. So yeah, lots of factors that made it challenging or unlikely. Colby, how about yourself?
Things that made mine like challenging or hard for myself was one is that I had never dealt with any of those situations before. Like, it was my first apartment. I had never been in debt. I had never been through that bad of a breakup, you know. It was also like my first car, so like I'd never, and it was like I had to be comfortable with things changing and step outside the comfort zone and allow those things to like stay in the past, which was really difficult because I think in situations like that, we try and like cling on to like as many things as we can and like take all the scraps and try and keep them together. Um, but I think like with my own brain, I think something that was really hard was I was really scared of judgment from other people because I had worked so hard to get all of those things like in a place where I seemed so like independent and stable and like I had everything together, and then when it all falls apart, like how am I supposed to tell people, like how am I supposed to like go to my parents for help or go to my family or friends when like just not too long ago I was so sure that like this was what I wanted and this was everything that was going to work out. And so that I was really scared to like ask for help or like um even tell them like what was going on. And I guess like even like some limiting beliefs might have been like, is it going to get better? Like stuff like that, I think was making things very challenging.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Great self-awareness. There's the sense of hopelessness. Was it going to get better? That this was unknown territory you were going into, that in some
Yeah.
ways you might have felt like you were letting everyone down because it just seemed like such a sure thing what you had going on, right? And it seemed like you had it all figured out, and then it just kind of crumbled away. I mean, we've all been there. It's quite a humbling experience, right?
Quite.
And I think in those moments, it, hope really helps. Uh, a quote I really like is that sometimes good things fall apart so something better can fall together. You know,
Mhm.
and just kind of hanging on to that and trusting the evolutionary process of life, that things that don't serve us anymore kind of fall away so we can evolve into something better. But yeah, excellent, well said. So with step one, we describe the story, the lifetime gold medal, as you will, because we're all athletes at being human and we've won gold medals in the past. We just need to remember them in many different domains: health, relationships, career, everything else. So we need to really unpack all the things that made it hard. And then number three is this. Look, at its lowest point, step three, at its lowest point, in its deepest, darkest moment, how hard or unlikely was it that things would eventually work out as well as it did? And I'm not asking you like from your own perspective, because maybe you were always sure it would, but like for a normal human being being in that circumstance, how unlikely is it things would work out as it did? One means it was a sure thing. 10 means at one point it seemed totally impossible. So, because we might have high hopes, but what was the realistic expectation? I'm going to start with the volleyball tournament. Going in with the team we had, the chances of us making it to the top 8, I would have given that a 9.9 out of 10, because I'm not going to say it's a 10 out of 10 impossible, because it's possible lightning would have struck every other team and we'd be the last team standing. Who knows what kind of natural disaster and our team could have won. But I would be banking on a natural disaster or something out of the norm for our team to actually make it that far. Like, so I would say my team's the volleyball team, 9.9 out of 10 unlikely that we would have made it as far as we did. Coots, going over to you. In its deepest, darkest moment, at its lowest point possible, how unlikely would it have seemed that someone would be able to turn it around as well as you did?
Yeah, like someone else, I would, yeah, 7 or 8 or so. I mean, people with surgeries, I was in there with the surgery. I saw people coming back from more surgeries. People barely do any of their rehab, let alone anything they're supposed to do. And so
Yeah.
I see it for most people that being a bit of a loop, unfortunately. And so, like I said, for me, the only thing stopping me was me. So I was making sure that wasn't going to be a problem.
Yeah, yeah. So we would say, so what I would do with you is I would say, okay, we're going to call it a 7.5 out of 10, right? And the big reason is too, like a lot of times people get a really bad injury and get a surgery and they stop being active.
Yes.
And they use it as an excuse. They're like, oh, I don't want to make things worse. I got things pinned down. I don't want to destroy it. I don't want to push it too hard. And so people don't end up getting better than ever. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a downward spiral, right?
Yeah.
So we'll say 7.5 out of 10, a very severe injury, both arms.
Yeah, for sure.
Goodness.
I could see people screwing, like I was very careful, and I could see people who wouldn't care to know how I know about it, just not be anywhere near as careful, and they'll ruin the surgery or whatever it might be. So
yeah. And getting discouraged can be very easy because you got both arms gone at the same time. So that's a major lifestyle change.
I got a stack of some mental toughness sheets I filled out at that point, buddy. Just I know.
Okay, perfect. And Colby, let's take once again, considering all the reasons this was hard. Okay, it was unknown. These were all new situations. There was a lot of disappointment and judgment and everything else. Like, how unlikely was it that you'd end up eventually feeling better than ever and be in the really good place you're in? Scale of 1 to 10 for a human being in your situation.
It's hard because I think with a situation like that, it's very like person to person, right? So
Mhm.
like I can see it going really bad, and like especially like if I didn't have like the support that I had, or like the positive mindset, I can see it being like definitely like an 8 or 9. But I think with the way that I was able to like maintain everything, I would probably give it like a 7.
Okay, good. So we'll give it a 7 out of 10. And the way you were able to walk through that, for somebody else, a situation like that would have certainly been like a 9.5 and maybe even a 10, right? Like sometimes one of those things alone can put somebody into a downward spiral. You had a whole bunch of major things stacked, right?
Yeah.
So yes, for you a 7, but honoring that, you already had some good resilience going into that major challenge.
Exactly.
But okay, good. Now, here is the most important thing. Okay, so I want you to both of you just kind of like jot down ideas as I prompt you through it. And we're going to unpack the specific success ingredients used in this lifetime gold medal. So this is step 4. So we want to get very clear on what thoughts, memories, attitudes, actions, or behaviors did you apply to create success? Now, I need you to be very clear and specific. Instead of describing general qualities, like you might say, oh, I had confidence. That's not a good answer. We want to, how did you cultivate confidence? If you said, oh, I got motivated, that's not a good answer. I want to know, how did you cultivate your motivation? Did you put together a motivating music playlist that you woke up to and played every morning to get your life back together? If it was like hard work, don't just say hard work. I want to know what you did. Maybe you cut out distractions and dedicated yourself to more practice and research than anyone else. Or maybe you made a commitment and you canceled other things that weren't useful to you and weren't as important to you, so you could have more time to focus on this. I want you to really break this down to what you did in order to create success. And there's 7 powerful prompters that I'm going to walk you through to unpack some of your success ingredients. So number 1 is, what kinds of things did you tell yourself? So did you repeat a favorite mantra, motto, or quote? If so, what was it? So what would you repeat? Like one of the things we did with our team, our volleyball team, was we kept repeating friends forever. And it just reinforced that we weren't going to negatively judge anyone. So there was no pressure on anyone screwing up, because we went in and we had a very insecure team. We had nobody who was good at volleyball, and everyone's afraid of letting the team down. I'm like, look, friends forever. And the more you suck out there, the more you're going to realize that I'm a true friend, because I'm not going to negatively judge you. So I said, go out there and suck and test our friendship. And that's what we would do with each other, you know? And you know, maybe that, what was there an empowering thought you held in your mind? For example, you know, Colby, it sounds like you were holding the empowering thought that even though I don't understand it, I trust that the universe has my back, and that this is somehow happening for my benefit, right? That it's happening for me, right? So, you know, an empowering thought might be, I've got to do this for those who are depending on me, right? Or, you know, I've got to just put one foot in front of the other, you know, or if I've done everything else in my life, I can do this. Or, you know, like, it could be anything. Or if I'm evolving, then I'm where I need to be right now, right? Just remembering that part of your superhero strength is your ability to change yourself. Like, that can be an empowering thought. So that's part one, is what kinds of things did you tell yourself? All right. Coots, do you have anything for something you told yourself in this episode?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember telling myself this is peanuts compared to back surgery, which I had when I was 18.
Perfect. Love it. Look, so you put it in perspective. Great.
Yeah,
Great. Colby, was there anything you told yourself, or an empowering thought?
There was actually quite a few things. Is like daily, I would like fill out a journal where I would focus on 10 things that I'm grateful for, like finding positive things within that scenario and kind of like see what was positive about those things. Like, for example, like losing my job allowed me to find a job that I was like more passionate about, like more within my interests. And so I focused on gratitude as well as affirmations to like build my self-confidence and self-worth in order to like face the situations with resilience. And then I kind of focused on like where I wanted to be and like where I was going to be rather than like where I was. And then also the quote is like, there's no light without dark and there's no up without down. And the fact that like I felt like I was at rock bottom, so I kind of felt like there's no way but up from there. So it that's sort of some of the thoughts that I was having.
Love it. So you basically committed yourself to appreciating the moment with your gratitude practice. You basically held the thought that where I'm going is more important than where I am. And also, what I like is that you honored the dualistic nature of reality. There's no up without a down. You can't experience joy without sadness. You can't, you know, so the dark times in our life give us a greater capacity to appreciate the brighter moments in life. So all very mature and beautiful perspectives. All right, let's go on to number two. What did you, and as we go through these, one of the things we want to be mindful of is how might these success ingredients, how might we recycle and reuse some of these for the challenges we're currently facing in life? Because we might all be facing, you know, Coots, you had an 8.5 out of 10 challenge. Mine was like a 9.9. And it's like, okay, what are the challenges I've got going on in my life right now? And where are they 1 to 10? Maybe they're not even as big as the one I'm talking about. You know, maybe I can use some of the success ingredients here and now to the current things I'm facing. So number two is this. What did you keep your focus on? Like, in what specific ways did you give yourself the will to succeed? You know, like, did you focus on the positive difference this would make in the lives of others? Did you focus on the well-being of others? Like, how did you get your dissatisfaction stronger than your fears? Right? Did you focus on the things that you can control? Did you focus on growth opportunities? Did you focus on your own thoughts and moods so you can best manage them? Right? How did you use pain as a motivator? You know, did you focus on what you don't want to stay motivated and aware? Right? Like, how bad will things get if I don't do the right thing right now? And how did you use pleasure as a motivator? Did you focus on the positive outcomes you want in your life to stay motivated? For example, you know, it's like, well, this will help me be a better coach for others who go through this stuff. if I can make it through myself right now, and it'll give me a lot of valuable skills so I can go further in life. You know, through necessity, I'm going to learn really great survival skills right now, right? Did you focus on staying positive and eradicating any negative or fearful thoughts the minute they show up in your mind? You know, did you focus on taking it one day at a time, which I think is really a helpful perspective for a lot of people? You know, did you use superstition to give yourself a boost in confidence? Maybe a lucky rabbit's foot or anything like that. It does work. You know, like using things like that can give yourself a boost. You know, like the lucky loonie or whatever Team Canada hockey uses and stuff like that. You know, how did you get into the flow of keeping busy on what had to get done? How did you maximize your motivation on a consistent basis? How did you remember what needs to be remembered? You know, like, and I'll start, like, what I focused on was creating an environment that kept fun and support the top value, not score. So in all of our volleyball games, I did not worry about the score. I worried about having titanium teamwork and making people feel like you have never played on a team before that believed in you as much and supported you as much as this volleyball team in this darn tournament here and now. That was our goal. That was our highest value, was to just make everyone feel maximally appreciated. That's why we did circle of compliments. And we did circle of compliments where you go around, you compliment the person to your left, and you go around. We did circle of compliments till the official breaks it up. So we don't stop. We wait till everyone's watching us and the official says, okay, you guys got to stop. We got to start now. That was our rule. So we'd go around a few times. Sometimes we switch directions and everyone was just super pumped up. Right. And then we go out there and we play like the best games of our lives. But anyway. So what did you keep your focus on? Coots, why don't we start with you? What did you keep your focus on?
Well, there's a lot of them, but if I look at this list here, I did write that focused on work, but you were like, how did you stay, you know, disciplined in the time to focus on it? It was because I focused on being a leader and being a role model for my clients.
Oh, perfect. So set a good example. Love it. Love it. That's a perfect way to do it. Here's how I'm going to handle my adversity so I can encourage you and inspire you to handle it the same way when you get an ache or a pain or an injury. Right.
And that just happened. One of my clients, she saw me go through it, fell off her bike, shattered her kneecap, full leg cast. She sits with me on a virtual call crying, but then she feels so good. She knows I've been through it. She listens to me like crazy. She knows what I went through. So it helps, you know, whatever helps.
You know, I love that too, because you remind me that was one of the things I focused on. Is I focused on setting an example that people matter more than performance. That was what I was trying to emphasize. I was like, all right, for this team, I want to just have this value. People matter more. People matter. That's it. You know, the performance was lucky and very, very lucky. And it was a nice, it made it memorable, but we were just focused on the people. Right.
You wanted to make sure they had a good time no matter what. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Colby, how about yourself? What did you keep your focus on? And you know, there is a little bit of redundancy between these different categories, because you could have answered, I kept my focus on what was good on the moment, you know, through my gratitude. But anyway, anything unique come to mind this time?
I think repeating or overlapping questions kind of makes room for like more detail, right? Like it kind of gets you to think more about those specific subjects even further. So I think it's good. So, but because I did like write down some more detailed things, like things that I was focusing on is I actually like, because of all these things going on, I had more time to myself, and I kind of like I started really focusing on like my physical health and my spiritual health. So like I started like meditating more, I was working out, I was eating good food, sleeping well, and I actually you know how you said like those like lucky things to help you through the situation. I was working with crystals. So
there's no way. I've got a crystal right here.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Which crystal is that? Is that
this is fossilized wood that got crystallized on the inside.
That's awesome.
I
actually I worked I work at a metaphysical shop now, so I sell crystals.
Oh my, are
That's like my job now.
you serious? My house is a museum of crystals.
He's got like a 7-footer in the bathroom. I'm not even lying.
No way,
That's
that's
crazy.
awesome. Yeah,
It's
I know
not
all
7
about
feet,
them.
but
So,
It's big.
but
It
it's
is.
funny because like when I'm selling, like because of these personal experiences that I've been through and like the crystals that like helped me get through them, I can like help recommend them to people who are going through the similar situation now. And so for example, like at the time, my favorite crystal was malachite, which was like the crystal of change and transformation. And because before this period, like I absolutely hated change. Change was super overwhelming. And then now I was kind of forced over to like the biggest transformation of my life. And I had to become comfortable with it and confident with it. So crystals helped me get through it, as well as I started journaling a lot and just like increasing my knowledge like about different crystals. And like I'd sit there like studying crystals for the day because I had so much time on my hands. And I just really started focusing on like my thoughts, like about what thoughts I was having and how they were serving me. And yeah,
Okay, that's great. Discernment on thoughts. Malachite, the green one, right?
yes,
Yes,
still my favorite.
coots. Malachite is made when a meteorite hits the earth and it burns sand.
Oh wow.
It's a green glass type crystal. Is
Oh
that
no,
correct?
that one there is moldavite.
Moldavite, that's it.
Malachite is a little different, but maybe like a milder version of
Okay,
moldavite.
yeah. That's moldavite. That's it. That's the one. I knew there was one. It's like because I have a
It's
little bit of it.
kryptonite. What you just explained to me, green from the sky. That's called kryptonite. It kills super people. Kal El.
That's so funny. That's so funny. But you know what? I love them because it's nature's art.
Yes,
Crystals,
exactly.
and I find that when you like my out here, I'm on the balcony. I'm surrounded by like flowers and crystals and our little dove here, right?
That's so beautiful.
And it's like
Still there.
we always have
Little
doves
baby.
hang out here with us on the balcony, and so surrounding yourself with beauty is very uplifting. So it can be very therapeutic and strategic. So I think that that's definitely something that can help shift our focus to something that elevates our consciousness. And I think that's one of the indirect benefits of crystals. I did you'll probably find this funny, but I did crystal therapy, like the courses. And
Yeah.
so the way
Oh,
they
that's
work is
super
like
cool.
tuning forks. So it's like the law of resonance. So if you have something like lepidolite has natural lithium in it. So the theory is that when you hold lepidolite, it naturally gives you that sense of wellness through activating the body's lithium. Pyrite has iron in it. So people with low iron, it helps. So anyway, I digress. Let's get on to number 3. I could talk about crystals all night. Okay.
We'll have a crystal talk sometime.
Crystal party. Crystal party.
That's like a Breaking
Libby,
Bad party.
Bancroft Jamboree is next week. Biggest
Oh
crystal
no
show in
way.
Canada.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. Question 3 for prompters. What empowering attitude did you have? What empowering attitude did you have? Like, for example, did you decide to find a way or make a way? Did you decide you would have whatever attitude necessary to succeed, regardless of what it is? Did you decide hard work pays off? Or did you decide not to overthink, but just do it? Did you decide things have to change now? No excuses. Failure is not an option. This has to be done and it has to be done now. Did you decide to pay the price and make the sacrifices necessary to succeed, sacrificing the non-essential stuff and making strategic sacrifices? Did you decide to harmonize with your difficulties instead of resisting your difficulties? Did you discipline yourself to want to do the things you had to do? Did you decide to put the ego aside, put emotions aside, and embrace humility and open-mindedness and be humble enough to ask for help? Did you have radical acceptance and faith for what was going on? Did you choose to do the right thing instead of what feels right, which is a big one because a lot of times people want to do They value comfort over progress. That's why when they go through hard times, they turn to booze and drugs, because comfort is their priority, not making progress, right? So did you give an empowering meaning to the pain and suffering in this problem? Did you decide you wanted to be happy and you'd find a way to be cheerful no matter what? Did you decide that you would have whatever attitude necessary to succeed? Like, these are all the different things we want to consider. All right. So in this one, I would say for me, the empowering attitude was to just make people feel good, and it will make me feel good. Right. And that's it. And it did. I was just full of compliments for everyone on our team. You know, if someone screws up, we'd be like, we love you anyways, no matter how much you screw up. Go ahead, screw up all you want. See how much we still keep loving you as a teammate, right? Just takes all the pressure off of everybody. No one feels like they're going to be judged if they screw up. Volleyball is one of those games, people screw up all the time, and it's kind of embarrassing because everyone's looking at you. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to try to have a different attitude than the teams that are being overly competitive, you know? So, Coots, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, empowering attitudes here. I know I was thinking stuff kind of like, be the comeback king. You've done it before, you can do it again. I had stuff like, use this to my benefit. I'm going to rebuild and learn more, get more help, and go on a different path. It's just a different direction, but it's the same path. Stuff like that would be things I would think about. Learn more to earn more was definitely an empowering attitude. And I had to earn my recovery, basically. But I think one of them was that I had to live up to my potential. I knew I could do it if I did what I know I can do.
Love it. Love it. Very, very powerful stuff. Love it. All right, Colby, over to you.
So for me, my empowering thoughts, I kind of just allow nature and the universe to take its course and let intuition guide me, and like just know that whatever was going to happen was like destiny. It was meant to happen, and I was going to come out greater and stronger and be able to build my foundation and rebuild it strong enough to like build an empire on top. So those were my empowering thoughts during the situation.
Love it. Love it. So your attitude is just go with the flow, because the flow is taking you in the right direction.
Exactly.
You don't know where the heck this thing is going.
Exactly.
But it's part of a greater conversation I have with people. It's, people tend to either believe we exist in a universe that is chaos, like we're all on a cosmic bus and there's nobody at the wheel, or we believe that there's some sort of a divine order behind it all, that across all space and time knows what's best for us. Even though we judge the moment, and based on our likes and dislikes, we might say this shouldn't be happening, but we don't really know what's good for us, right?
Yeah.
So, love it. Great. Very, very admirable perspectives, both of you. Now, number 4 is a good one, and it's very relevant in many situations like this. It's, how did you leverage other people in this situation? How did you leverage other people in this situation? How did you utilize the skills, experience, networks, and knowledge of others? Were there role models, mentors, or other forms of support or help? Did you decide to surround yourself with happy people who elevate you? How did you stay accountable to others? How did you use cooperation to your advantage? I think in my situation, I leveraged other people by getting them to buy into this vision that we were going to win the game of being the best teammates to each other, and that the volleyball score was just secondary. So I leveraged them by, in trying to inspire in them that there was something else more worthy of us to cooperate and work together towards than winning an actual volleyball championship, which we probably had no chance of winning anyway. Right. So, and then I think like, if I was to think of how else did I leverage people, I tried to think of, probably some of the role models I've had in life have probably influenced my leadership skills in that situation with the team, because a lot of my role models would have been somebody like, Paramahansa Yogananda, who was huge, I think, with his people skills, right? And I would think about how, how he was as a leader and trying to be a different version of him in that situation. Or, another one of my role models is Francis of Assisi, and trying to be more like him, right? And making it more about people rather than ego and pride, right? So I think I was leveraging, and I'm always trying to learn from these role models, right? Always reading books on them and trying to live their values. And those values weren't values that those were values that came to me through my role models. They weren't values I naturally came across through real living mentors as much. But yeah, so how did you leverage other people? So Coots, you're going to leverage a number of different people in this situation through going through rehab. How did you leverage people overall in your situation?
Well, I needed understanding from my partner, or Diana there. So that was huge, being able to have her understand this is tougher. I might need this, be patient with these things. And she, of course, helped me with food or all that kind of stuff. So that was important. Friends, not so much. I see them here and there. I played video games. My hand still worked, right? So, but they were very important for my mind. Nothing's wrong with me. We're sitting playing video games. Nothing's changed. I feel happy, right? It was good for staying normal. Right. And then, of course, you mentioned it there. Most of them weren't living mentors, but I had you on my mind front and center. This is a mental toughness challenge, Coots. What are you going to do? It's kind of what I hear. And, I did the homework, bro. I did it. I ran to the triangle. I made sure to do my Houdinis. I made sure to test my gold medals and remind myself I've been through worse. I did Frankel process. My arms are torn, but I'm going to get back to normal. And after that, what's my purpose? What's going to happen next? And so focusing on those kinds of things, super important. But yeah, I leveraged, my clients. They had to be very understanding, right? They had to know that I'm not going to be exactly the same. I'm going to be sitting a little bit more, yada yada. And so yeah, I couldn't have made it through without people or people from helping in the past, like yourself.
Love it, love it. So if I had to summarize and articulate that back to you as a point you would write down, I'd probably say we write down a point of lean in on the perspectives of the positive influences of your life. What would they have to say about the moment you're going through, right?
Sure.
They might have to say, your pain and suffering is your adventure buddy, because it's going to open you up to new people, the rehab experts and different people like that, new experiences and new wisdom, new insights. Pain and suffering is your adventure buddy would be what I would convey to you in that moment, right? Which, you probably intuited anyways, because I've chatted with you before about stuff like this, but yeah, so lean in on the perspectives of your positive.
I'd have to shout out to my parents there for sure. Now that I think about it, because my mom would be the one, if I'm frustrated, it's been hurting for a while. She's like, yeah, how's that working out for you? Right. She'll be the first one to call me out on my frustration. My dad is the farmer, right? You get up and you work. And then when you're tired, you go back to work. Like, he's just, so I had the two of them in the backbone always, right? They're my saving grace for sure.
Love it. Colby, how about yourself?
For me, I was looking into books that like my favorite life coach had written, and so I started reading those, and actually it kind of also inspired me to read more books in general, because up until that point I had never actually finished a book before. I would always just start it and then never finish it. But it was the first time I finished a book. I was really inspired to um look into the eyes of other people that I looked up to, and kind of just get it done and fix my mindset, as well as I started watching lots of videos of people who had been in my situation, as well as I opened up the conversation to others about money and about debt, just to feel like I wasn't alone, because I find that those are conversations that a lot of people avoid. They'll go into debt or have money struggles and nobody will ever know about it. And so I started talking with my parents and my friends, and found out that there was a lot of people who had been in the same boat, and you just never would have known unless you asked the questions. So that helped me to not feel alone, and it kind of helped me push through the situation even more. And because they had been through the situation before, they helped me. One of my friends, he helped me to find resources who could help me through the situation who helped him, and it actually like saved my life. So um
Love
that's
it.
how I was able to leverage people, by opening up and talking about these issues that normally people are too scared to speak about.
Love it. Love it. And what I really love about this one is, you know, the world offers a buffet of solutions to any problem in life, right?
Hmm.
Because no problem in life is truly unique, you know? So it's kind of like there's a specific way to go through all of these things with really good form, you know, like, and you have access, there's no lack of resources. You have access to so many different people that can help you in so many different ways, right? And one example is, you know, when I'm coaching somebody and they go through a breakup, one of the first things I do is I go through the breakup reflection with them, which is a number of very specific questions we go through to make sure they unpack everything necessary to move forward with minimal baggage and maximum wisdom and lessons learned, so that you're not taking the same ignorance and the same different attitudes or behaviors that might be problematic into your next relationship. So it's kind of like, and then we go into centering yourself into in a very positive way, and you know, cleansing your self concept, and really, you know, learning to love yourself first and foremost before you attempt to love somebody else. And so there's a very specific process, and there's many different strategies many different people have on that. But it's great that you at least had the humility and the foresight to know, hey, everything is figure outable, even if it's just changing my mindset about a bunch of stuff. Who has the cheat codes in the game of life, you know, for this specific set of issues? So love it. um Number 5 is, what personal strengths did you apply to this? What skills and experience did you bring to the table? Did you have radical resourcefulness to just find a way or make a way? Did you apply obsessed, focused? You know, did you have an open mind to try new things out? Did you apply your positive faith? Were you a master of adaptation? Um, did you use your pleasing personality and mindful communication to get people on your side? Did you have coolness and poise under pressure? Did you apply extreme self-honesty? Did you have trust in the goodness of the creator? Whatever it was for you. So I'm going to say, in my situation with the volleyball, it was being in a lot of situations where I had to like lead a group and team of people. I was very comfortable with it, and just sort of being the thought leader and really kind of putting forth very empowering thoughts and making that our culture. Just thoughts that bring everybody strength, right? And I was just beyond obsessed with being positive and uplifting to everyone around me, and showing how much we can find happiness in creating happiness for others, right? And then another thing was, I was just trying to be a master of adaptation. Whenever there was a problem or challenge that came up, I would just think, what's good, what can be learned, how can you make it better? What's good, what can be learned, how can you make? And we did have a bunch of different issues come up during the whole day. This tournament took place during the whole course of the day, and just seeing the best in other people. Like, that's what I was doing. I was just looking at them and seeing their highest potential, and then pulling them into the high vision of them that I had, you know. And I feel like they all did go into that, in terms of just being awesome teammates, and we made it as far as we could for that team we had, right? So, and in that situation, we had a banquet after the fact. We all had our prizes in the boxes, and we sat around the big table in the beer gardens. We were the only team that did that, because every other team, I think, was stressed that they didn't, or disappointed that they lost, and the team that won had won the year before, so it wasn't a big deal. So we were the team that was really felt like the champions. We were doing speeches and giving away prizes and friendship bracelets and going around, and we were just having a big laugh with it. So anyway, what personal strengths did you apply to this? Cootsie, you got a lot of strengths in the area of rehab and
The
that.
first thing I wrote down was fitness and health education from 15 years. That was definitely something I had to lean on. And then, of course, with you for 7+ years now with exercise therapy, really leaning on to understanding the body. And then, of course, all the nutritional things, I was applying all that kind of stuff as well. And then radical resources, that would be mental toughness for sure. That to me, that felt like the saving grace of resources. Like, write this down. Don't let your thoughts get ahead of you. Don't get anxious about this. You're going to be fine. Those kinds of things were important to write down on paper. What did you apply obsess focus on? Yeah, I focused on work, right? And just being positive with continuing work, making sure that work continued as per usual. How did you apply a positive faith? Yeah, that to me, that would be kind of the Houdini, just staying on the good. What's the good? What's the good? That's great. I think for me, I remember saying, hey, perfect. It's a pandemic. We got nothing else to do but sit around, right? So I just found the light in the situation as best I could. Do you use your pleasing personality? I had to stay on point. If I was angry and grumpy coots from my arms, my clients wouldn't have wanted to really train with me. So I had to stay on point, right? Be happy. And do you have coolness and poise under pressure? That was the thing. I had to keep my cool. Diana was freaking out. How's this gonna work? I'm like, it's all good. It'll be good. I'll just finish this. And I had to be the cool one, right? I had the torn arms. And then how did you extreme self-honesty? Yeah, that was a big one. You did this to yourself, bud. You screwed it up. You did it wrong. It's your fault. You did it. Fix it. Right. So to me, that was very important. And yeah, that was about it.
Awesome. So, I mean, really, although we don't talk about it, really, there's a cost benefit analysis of every thought and attitude we have. And it sounds like you just had great discernment on, there's lots of different attitudes I can have right now, but I'm going to choose the ones that have more benefit and less cost. If we had, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen, or why me, that thought is all cost and just about no benefit. So it sounds like you had great discernment and you were very intentional with the attitudes that you tried on, like putting on a piece of clothing, you were putting on attitudes that were a good fit for the situation.
I think it came from experience too. Now, once you mentioned it, I'm like, well, yeah, I started with like bad injury when I was really young. So being able to well, what have I done in the past and how did that go? Right. So
yeah, you learn from past mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Getting bitter is you can focus on getting bitter, or you can focus on getting better, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, Colby, how about yourself?
So for me, I just kind of like again, I trusted in the universe and knew that it was all like happening for a reason, but then to like more clarify like my thought process on that is I would like kind of sit back and think of all the possible reasons, positive reasons as to why they were happening. Like why is this happening and what's the result that's going to be better? And another thing is I liked the fact that it was creating the person that I want to be. Do you know what I mean? It's building character, and it's like I feel like really great people who have great stories all have been through troubles and have all hit rock bottom at some point. And it does make a great inspiring story for me to tell people later. And also, I just knew that it was a complete learning process and that I would never be in that situation again because I had learned from it.
Oh my gosh, those are all such really inspiring perspectives. You must take a lot of pressure off your parents by just being who you are.
My dad praises me every time I see him.
I was like, oh my gosh, imagine you were imagine you had a daughter like Colby, you'd just be like, well, somehow she's gonna find the best way of looking at this thing,
Yeah,
So
that's my dad.
She keeps life coaching me every time I yell at the television.
yeah, there you go. So really, it's like, you know what? This is going to make my story better, right?
Exactly.
That's a lot of what your attitude was, right?
Yes,
And
1000%.
when your whole life falls apart, you're in a good place because hitting rock bottom provides guilt-free permission to just pursue your dreams and passions, no matter how impractical they might seem. And it's a lot of people have been in that schoolhouse, right? Joanne Rowling had hit rock bottom. Colonel Sanders had hit rock bottom. Walt Disney was fired from his job at the paper because he didn't have any good ideas. Like, so many really admirable humans had hit rock bottom before. And it just seemed like it was just such a necessary stepping stone to an even greater success through the skills learned in the school of hard knocks. So love it. Those are great perspectives. Now, the last one, number 6 is, how did you get yourself into the best state to succeed? How did you get yourself refreshed, renewed, and energized to deal with the task at hand? Did you create a positive change in your body, perhaps through posture, you know, a song, dance, exercise, breathing, smiling, whatever. Like, what did you do to give yourself a boost or a jump start? Like, what specific environments did you seek out to give you strength? How did you make a strong effort to regain self-control? This is all about how did you shift your state, you know, in a way that served you. And for me, it was just keeping the emphasis on giving strength to others to strengthen myself was really what I was doing in the volleyball situation. Right. But if I think back to a different situation, if I think back to like another lifetime gold medal, could be going through a major breakup I went through many years ago, like I was listening to really loud, motivating music to start off every morning. You know, I would just blare my music and it was like, I'd have a shower and I'd be singing in the shower. It was like, I was ready to take on the world. Right. Nowadays, if I've got a big challenge, I do a lot of like deep meditation to kind of create healthy detachment to the world, to take myself seriously, but not the world and reality seriously. And so sometimes I'll do that to get myself into the best state, just to anchor myself in more spiritual values rather than getting too worldly and too life obsessed. I mean, this place is Colby, whether you've realized this or now or later, this world is really the insane asylum of the universe. So we need to not take our reputation in the insane asylum too seriously, because this place is a crazy house, right? Because otherwise we're just going to be ever frustrated and disappointed. Because it's you know, just turn on the news or politics or whatever and see the kind of craziness going on in our world. So anyway, how'd you get yourself in the best state? Cootsie, I'm gonna guess you worked out.
Number one. That's
I knew
number
it. I
one.
know that's your big state change thing.
You knew it. You
I
knew
know.
it.
I was gonna guess it's like exercise to feel good.
Well, you even how do you get refreshed, renewed, energized? You're dealing with tasks at hand. Yeah, for sure. So, like I said, even just getting on an elliptical with both arms sitting on a thing was like super important for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
did you create positive change in the body, perhaps song and dance? What else did I do? Working out to feel useful. Oh yeah, work was really important because it made me feel useful, right? Because at that state you feel kind of useless with your things not working. So being able to still give and give back as much as I could. That was really important to feel useful. YouTube, some video games, certain things would definitely keep me motivated and distracted. I was watching The Sopranos for the first time in my life. That was a great distraction, right? Kept me on different kind of mindset. The nature in the gym is kind of my environment. So if I'm in the gym, I'm feeling comfortable. If I'm out in nature, I'm feeling comfortable. Those were good things. We went to the park a few times, or we went to some other places for sure. I really leaned into exercise, nutrition, supplementation, mental toughness, and I wrote this down because you wrote you mentioned one from back in the day. I remember when I blew my back out, Rocky movies, right? Number 1 to number 5. You want to make a comeback, watch those movies and feel better, right? So
Rocky movie marathon.
yeah, I remember that. I remember lying on ice on the floor of my parents' place, and it was like another one, the next one. I just felt better every Rocky movie, and it's because he went through hell and made it out on top. And he was so unlikely to succeed, and he pursued and persisted. Yeah, it's pretty
Oh
funny.
my goodness. I love that answer. I mean, for me, I just need to hear the music and I'm good. I mean, the
Exactly.
whole
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
Just imagine yourself being in your own Rocky movie and listen to the music.
Well, you're lying there, you can't do anything, right? So, like, the best thing to do was fill my head with that kind of stuff. Like, when I can get moving again, when I'm allowed to stand up again, yeah, I'm gonna chase a chicken, or whatever it is, right? Just kidding.
Love it. Love it. Okay, Colby, how about yourself? Anything you did to change your state, to elevate your state,
Um,
being very strategically?
I honestly wrote down a whole bunch of things. So I was meditating a whole bunch. I was like working out and like I was being very healthy. And because I had so much time, I was able to like meal prep a whole bunch and like create healthy meals and um focus on like my nutrition. And then I was having like little dance parties. Like I was like I just put on some music to like Beyonce, like some like women empowerment songs, and I would just dance and like find like love for myself again. And I practiced gratitude through journaling and also journaling like all of my thoughts and feelings about everything and just kind of like getting it out
Yeah.
and able to like get it out and make room for better, more positive thinking, as well as I was filling a lot of my time with listening to like podcasts and audiobooks and watching like inspiring videos on YouTube. I was watching a lot of Bob Proctor and like
Good. Yeah, yeah.
other like spiritual videos or like videos from my life coach and stuff like that. And I think those really helped me and helped my mindset in that time.
Good, good. So what I hear there is you got on a really healthy mental diet.
Yes,
So you were
1000%.
consuming lots of uplifting content. I really like
Yeah.
for you doing healthy meal prep. That makes a big deal when you're going through a hard period in life, because if you start having like sugars and other food that can make you more irritable, then your
Yeah.
psychology can, your physiology can become your psychology. So a
Yes,
lot of foods and
1000%.
things can depress you. So I feel like that was a very enlightened approach that you took there. The dance party one is hilarious too, by the way.
I
Love
also used to I realized that instead of listening to like sad music and letting myself like be in a bummed out state about everything, I would listen to like high frequency, like binaural beats and just like in the background, like
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
that's amazing. That's amazing. And I think, one of the things too that if I'm to coach you through like or support you through a current challenge, I would say, okay, we need to have regular exercise scheduled in because you talked about it, and regular spiritual practice scheduled in. You were meditating back
Mhm.
then. Okay, let's get you meditating. If you forgot it, you need to get back into the habit,
I
right?
feel called out right now. I fell off meditation a while ago, and I feel like in times of my life where I've been meditating have been like I felt the most successful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And which is why I feel called out right now. I'm gonna be writing this down.
Okay. I felt called out. Yeah, so it's so that's what I would do is I'd be like, okay, we need to remember, and Coots has heard me say this a lot. You need to remember what needs to be remembered.
Mhm.
And
Remember that.
we need to learn to be we need to learn to behave because we know what we should and shouldn't do. We need to
Yeah.
learn to behave. We all need to do it. One of the most important things you can tell yourself, hey, learn to behave, then give yourself a high five. Like, but that's it. And it's like, remember what needs to be remembered. It's like, okay, I'm at my best when I do these things. I need to make these things a consistent part of my life. Done. Next is final category. Category 7 is what specific action steps did you take? Like, did you cut out distractions? Did you shut out the noise and temptation and bad energies around you? Did you get crystal clarity on your situation? Did you research, make a game plan, a strategic game plan? Did you have success measures or feedback loops or something else? What did you need to do more of? What did you need to do less of? Right? In my situation, I needed to do more of thinking of others, less about thinking about myself and how I look and everything else. I'm just going to be so focused on making everyone else feel good. I don't even have time for insecurity. You know, how did you stay 5 steps ahead? So I was pumping people up rather than waiting for them to get down and trying to build them up. I was just saying, keep everyone really elevated, right? How did you focus your efforts in a consistent and intentional way? Did you have to apply yourself to acquire new skills of some sort through study and practice? Did you set reminders or alarms? Did you have a regular review so you could learn from your performance? Did you apply trial and error and experimentation? Right? So, for example, my my experimentation was nobody passes the ball. And the reason we did that was the last time I had coached a volleyball team, it was in the Sick Kids tournament. And I believe there was like 68 teams. It was a winter tournament. And our team was the team of leftovers. It was like the IT guys and everything. And we made it to the A final. We finished number 2 in that tournament. And so I used in the world's biggest volleyball tournament, I used the same strategies I used in the previous tournament that got us to number 2. It's like we do the circle huddle, nobody passes the ball, like everything. Right. So I was just applying a previous experiment. I'm like, hey, this worked last time. We had a really good performance. Let's try this again.
I like that.
Were you assertive in some way, shape, or form? Setting healthy boundaries with people, training other people how to treat you, so you get the respect you deserve. Like, what kinds of specific action steps did you take? This is our final category on success ingredients. Koos, why don't you give us one of your specific action steps?
Let's see here. I decided to double down into using red light therapy and learning more about the power of like reishi mushrooms and other kinds of mushrooms.
Okay, so you researched cutting edge methods and applied them.
Yeah.
And experimented with them. Perfect. Love it. Colby, how about yourself? Specific action step you took?
I related a lot to training other people how to treat you. I think something that was really important to me in that time was redefining my worth and like becoming like confident again. And so that breakup that I was going through, we were still living together and I was being treated very poorly. And so as I created like my confidence and self-worth, I was able to set boundaries with that person to teach them how to train me. And it was really interesting seeing the reaction to that. But that is definitely an action step that I took.
Perfect. And if anyone's watching this recording, what I'm going to say is we did a call on boundaries boot camp. And what I'd say is the how to set boundaries was with good form. There's a very specific way to do it. You say, I feel, then you describe the feeling like disrespected, dismissed, dishonored. Then you say, when you do, and you describe their action, like have too much to drink, raise your voice at me, make false accusations about me, whatever. So you say, I feel, describe your feeling. When you do, describe their action. It's very important to do that because you want to make it about your feelings, which they can't debate, rather than saying this is the wrong, bad thing to do, which they can debate. And then you say, and in order to take care of myself, I'm going to, and then you describe the boundary. I'm going to leave the room if you go for that third drink. I'm going to distance myself from you when you're in a negative and foul mood. Or, I'm going to end communication when you don't have anything nice to say. Or if you're making false accusations, I'm going to cut you off and give you your space. So that's how you do it with good form. And you just got to keep practice crafting those sentences. I feel, when you do, and in order to take care of myself, I'm going to. Now, the caveat to this is a narcissist and a sociopath will not respond to that type of boundary setting. And if somebody does not respond to that, that's a huge red flag. Because most compassionate people will honor that they've made somebody feel a certain way that isn't good, and that person now needs to do things to take care of themselves. So that's just me blabbing about boundaries in case anyone watches this recording and they're like, oh, what'd you do? What do you say? How do you do it? What's the quick hack? And we have boundaries bootcamp video on that one. And then the self-worth one, we did the golden nugget. I should hook you up with our recording of the golden nugget and the tool, because that one is very powerful on self-worth. It's a great complement to this one. And it's all about creating healthy distance from external validation. So realizing how much of a hollow victory human reputation is, that no matter how good you are, people are going to have bad things to say. Like Mother Teresa had haters, like Eckhart Tolle has haters. Like a lot of these people, like Gandhi was shot and killed. Jesus was killed by haters. Like a lot of these people who do really good things for everyone and have all the best intentions are hated so harshly. Who are we to think it's not going to happen to us? Even though we don't live as much heroic virtue as them, perhaps. Right. So, and then to base our value on our potential rather than our performance, and then to get very clear on what our highest potential is. So there's a 3-step process for self-worth. Colby, I'll hook you up with it if you want.
I would love that.
Absolutely. I'm going to hook you up with it. So, and we have the recordings. I'll just have to find them. But we did do those talks recently, both of those talks. So did you both notice how reliving some of this stuff can awaken feelings of empowerment, courage, and enthusiasm? Right? Just reliving some of our past successes. Did you notice it gives a little bit of a boost?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and if normally I'll go through like 3 stories, right? And I go through them a little quicker. in an hour with somebody, but I'd say, if you've overcome all this, what else are you ultimately capable of? Is it possible you're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for in terms of going from struggle to success and defying the odds? Isn't that kind of exciting? And can you strategically use your success ingredients from these stories to future challenges? One thing I would do is I'd say, from all your success ingredients from this story, I want you to pick your favorite 5. And that's a success recipe. Out of all the things you wrote down tonight, pick 5 and make that a recipe that you're going to try in your life right now. And it might be like Colby might say, okay, 1, I'm going to do my meditation. I'm going to get back into my meditation. Okay, 2, I'm going to surround myself with people that uplift me. 3, I'm going to set a timer and do my Beyonce dance party every day. No, whatever it is, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like kind of like really consider intentionally putting your success strategies into play, right? Now, another thing is, if you knew this, another thing is, what would be the best possible outcomes, do you think, if you were to do this drill 7 days in a row? Just write down a new story every day for 7 days in a row. What do you think are the best possible outcomes, right? Might you get more clarity on how to be at your best? And might that help elevate you to the next level? So I'm going to encourage anyone watching this or yourselves to take the 7-day challenge. All you have to do is do 1 new story each day for 7 days in a row and just journal it out. Just put pen to paper or type it out, and then just stay in touch with some of these insights. And then the other thing I would say is teach it to learn it. So I'd encourage you, once you go through the 7-day challenge, take this and coach somebody else on it. Because if you have to teach it to somebody else, you're going to learn it on a deeper level. And one thing that's really important, I think people need a reminder of, is, hey, you know what? You're still here. After all you've been through, you've always found a way through hard times. You've done it before and you can do it again. I would say to you, Colby Romard has always found a way. She's done it before and she can do it again. And this moment in life is just another one of those times. You've always found a way. You're still here. You can do it again. Dave Coots has always found a way through hard times. As long as I've known that guy, he's always found a way. He's done it before. He can do it again. Sometimes people just need to remember who they are and what they're capable of. And it's not adding anything new. This is just reminding everybody who they really are deep down and what they're capable of. So let's go into final thoughts, key takeaways from tonight. Coots, you want to start off? Final thoughts, key takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started with why do I believe in this, and this obviously just reinforces that even more. I don't know if there's such a thing as too much self-awareness. So that's always really important, right? To just keep on adding to that. But what I really liked is how you said there's overlap, but I think the overlap's important, right? So, oh wow, yeah, again, I rely on that. Oh yeah, that is really important. Oh yeah, you know what? This is the 4th time I've noticed my mom really helps me with this, right? And so it could be something where, because of the overlap, it reinforces the good things, right? So
love it. Well said. All right, Colby, final thoughts, key takeaways.
I think looking back at the things that helped me most in my hardest time in my life should be things that I continue to have in my life day to day. So I think that I'm going to reevaluate my routine.
Okay, awesome. Love it. All right, Gwyneth the Dove, any final thoughts, key takeaways? No.
say something.
This is very,
Awesome.
this is very chill. Just chilling right there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't have to say anything you don't want to say. All right. Perfect. Excellent job out there today. So I want to honor both of you for being a part of this conversation, which we're just going to share with whoever might benefit from it. And because we're all going through this human journey together, and we're all stronger when we team up and face it together and share our strength and share our experiences. So it was an honor and a pleasure to hang out with both of you tonight and go through this. And this is a tool I've been teaching for 20 years. I made up lifetime gold medals in 2003, and I was using it with pro athletes, right? That's why I called it lifetime gold medals, because I was trying to come up with a sporty, because I noticed self-doubt. I was like, why are all these talented people doubting themselves? And that's their main limitation is their view of themselves. They don't think they can do it and everything else. And so I was grateful to have some big breakthroughs with some athletes early on in my career. And I think this, crushing their self-doubt was the first sporting opponent that they had to defeat. And this has been a very reliable way to do it. Just remember your past successes and take some of those success ingredients into this moment. And it's worked for you in the past. It can work again. Let's see which success ingredients will work now. And if you don't have anything, to say to anybody when you're coaching them to start off and you're like, I don't know where to begin with this. Always begin with this. Give people strength right out of the gates. Give people strength. This is a great foundation for anything you do with anyone you're coaching, because you can always refer back to this. Setbacks are going to happen. And when they do, you refer back to this stuff. Be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that this has gone on, but congratulations, because don't you remember the last time you had a breakup? Look at all these great things that came out of it. And let's do some of the things you did back then. Let's not forget who you are and what you're capable of, and that, that everything is moving forward. Sometimes good things fall apart, so better things can come together. Life is happening for you. Sometimes we just need to help remind people of all that stuff. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Count of 3. We're going to do friends forever, fist bump. Okay. Group hug. And we're out. Okay. Friends forever, enemies for never. Got it? All right. Colby, you ready? Did they get you to do this last week on the call?
No.
Trying to make this a tradition. Okay. Here we're going to make you do it anyway. 1, 2, 3. Friends forever. All right, group hug.
And don't forget the enemies for never.
Oh, enemies for never. Enemies for never. I can't believe I forgot that part. We agreed. Enemies for never. Friends forever. For never. Go
I didn't say that. Bye, guys.